Hello and welcome to my 51st water review for YouTube. Today is Friday, January 25th, 2019, and this week I will be reviewing Icelandic Glacial Water. I'm surprised I haven't reviewed this one yet, but that is what I will be reviewing today. Icelandic Glacial from the island of Iceland in the Atlantic Ocean between Greenland and the United Kingdom, and they source their water from the volcanic Ölfus spring on the southwestern side of Iceland. It is volcanic in nature and it gets its water from glacial melt, and it runs through the volcanic rocks, giving it an alkaline nature as well as filtering out any minerals in the water. So this is a very pure water, and Icelandic Glacial, the company, wants to keep it that way. Now, Icelandic Glacial on their website has a lot of good information, a lot of beautiful visuals and videos as well, talking about the source of their water, their sustainability, and just overall the product itself. So even if you're not terribly interested in the water, I would still recommend going to their website because they do have a lot of interesting information. The Ölfus spring is surrounded by an exclusion zone which protects the area from being built on or developed on, and this helps to protect the source and its natural water. And Icelandic wants to do this as well, so in their bottling plant, the water itself comes into contact with air at no point. It is brought in through pipes which are sealed from air getting in, and no minerals or anything is added to the water. The only time the water actually comes into contact with air is when you open it. Another thing that Icelandic Glacial prides itself on is their commitment to sustainability and environmental friendliness, and they get this through the fact that their bottling plant is carbon neutral. All of the energy to power the bottling plant is through geothermal energy and hydroelectric energy, and this means that they are completely self-sustained. Now moving on to the bottle design and materials, and the Icelandic Glacial bottle is quite striking with this glacial pattern that they've put into the bottle along the top. Now from the side it has this interesting optical illusion where it appears that the cap itself isn't completely centered in the bottle, but when you turn it so that you're looking straight on at the cap, it turns out that it actually is completely centered. So it has kind of that interesting effect to the top of it, which gives it almost more of a natural look. And that's really what Icelandic is going for, keeping the water in the way that nature intended it. However, despite having that molding along the top, which might add some complexity to keep the structural rigidity of the bottle, plastics throughout are still excellent, high quality, and the cap itself is also nicely designed and has a nice feel to it as well. In terms of design, the bottle itself is a bit problematic because it is square, and this means it is less likely to fit into any of your cup holders, which might be a downside to you. However, it is a very stylish piece that you may want to show off in maybe a classroom or at work, so maybe you don't care so much that you can't put it in a cup holder. Moving on to the design of the label, and the label is also quite striking with this nice frosted white look to it. They just have this small window in the front of the bottle that is printed out in the shape of Iceland, and if you look through you can actually see the ice sheet from the side on the back. And the side on the back is a bit weird to me. This is the only part of the bottle I'm not a huge fan of, and it has this nice ice sheet look to it, which really takes away from the look of the rest of the label. And they've printed "sourced for an epic life" onto the back of it, and this is just, it doesn't really go with that high class natural look that they're going for. So this is the only part of the bottle I'm really not a huge fan of, but overall design is quite beautiful. I love the Icelandic font. They've gone with kind of like a Nordic looking font, and they do also include a mineral table on the back, which is excellent. Finally, on the other side, they have a little bit more information about the source, but other than that, a really clean, classy, elegant looking label and a very striking bottle design overall. Now, moving on to taste. Now, I'm not expecting a whole lot in terms of taste, just because Icelandic is going for their purity. The water is naturally filtered by the volcanic rock at the source, and Icelandic Glacial doesn't add any water to it. As I mentioned earlier with their filling process, the water does not come into contact with anything, not even air. So this means that Icelandic glacial water has a very low TDS of just 62 with a little bit of calcium, a little bit of chloride, a little bit of sodium, and a few other trace minerals as well. So on the nose, very neutral nose, very pure nose. And now onto the taste. Again, taste is very pure. It's got a little bit of a metallicness to it, which I do like. That's why a main reason why I like Smart Water as well as the other very pure Ice Age glacial water from Canada. And other than that, it's very pure. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it because it doesn't have any of those minerals that make the water soft and give it kind of a residue. But overall, really crisp, clean, fresh tasting water with a slight metallicness to it as well. So if you like that purity, not a lot of complexity or anything to your water, then I think you will really enjoy Icelandic glacial water. So in terms of final score, in terms of company history and interestingness, their website had a ton of information. Their website was beautiful. Again, even if you're not interested in the water, I would still recommend going and checking out their website just to learn a bit more about Iceland even and their natural beauty. But overall, they have a ton of information about their water and really interesting source, and overall they have great sustainability initiatives as well. So for company history and interestingness, they get a full 2.5 out of 2.5 points. In terms of bottle design and materials, overall, really not a whole lot to complain about. The materials are all high quality. The label is nicely secured to the bottle, even though it isn't fully glued on. They've put it on in such a way that I don't think we'll have any issues, as well as it's made out of a nice high quality material. And the overall design is quite striking as well. The only thing I don't really like is the shape. Because it's square, that does make it a bit more complicated when it comes to putting it in cup holders. However, overall design is nice, with this little area on the back being a bit weird. But overall, they still do quite well in bottle design and materials, getting 2.25 out of 2.5 points. In terms of taste and nose, that is also quite excellent. They're going for that purity, which also Ice Age Glacial went with, and they really do well here. The TDS is a bit higher than it was with Ice Age. However, you still get that nice crisp, fresh taste, a neutral nose with a slight metallicness as well, which I am personally a fan of. So in terms of taste, they get 3.5 out of 4 points. Finally, in terms of value, this 1 liter bottle cost $3.39 at my local grocery store, which is a bit higher than most of the premium waters at the grocery store. It's a bit higher than Arto Life Water and a bit higher than Smart Water as well, but it is cheaper than Voss. So it's kind of in the middle, a little bit higher than the middle in terms of price range, and therefore they get 0.5 point out of 1 point. It's also higher than Ice Age Glacial, which I think is the direct competitor in terms of just overall the scheme they're going for with taste and purity and glacial water as well. So tallying that all up, Icelandic water gets a very respectable 8.75 out of 10 points, which does put them 0.25 point behind Ice Age Glacial Water, which didn't do so well in company history and interestingness, but did do better in terms of taste and nose. So overall, definitely recommend Icelandic water if you're looking for a really interesting designed bottle, a excellent taste, and from a very reputable and respectable company. But if you're going for maybe a better value glacial water, I would try and source maybe Ice Age Glacial, which is going to save you about 50 to 80 cents at the grocery store per bottle. So I hope you all enjoyed my review for this week. Please like and comment and subscribe and share and all that good stuff. And I will see you on Monday for another episode of my historical and educational series on YouTube. Thank you.